Hi everyone. This is a summary of Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. Spoiler alert. Major plot points ahead. Link to the book is in the description. This is a story about Tsukiko and the sensei. His name is Harutsuna Matsumoto, but Tsukiko calls him sensei. They met at a local bar. Harutsuna was actually Tsukiko's high school teacher. Tsukiko is in her 30s, and Harutsuna is in his 60s, so there is a 30-year age gap between them. They noticed each other at the bar. It was Harutsuna who remembered Tsukiko. He approached her, and then they talked, recalled memories, and connected. At that time, Harutsuna remembered Tsukiko, but Tsukiko didn't remember his full name, so she just called him Sensei, and since then she has always called him that. They always drank at that same local bar. They would talk and order sake. The first time they drank, it was Sensei who paid. In the following times, they each paid for their own drinks. They ordered separately and paid separately. They did this regularly. They never set a specific time to meet. They would just happen to be there at the same time and drink together. Even without plans or any kind of coordination, they still managed to drink together regularly. They also went on adventures together. Sensei once took her to a market where they shopped. They had a brief argument about a baseball game they watched, where they supported opposing teams. Sensei supported the Giants, while Tsukiko supported the other team. They also went on a mushroom-picking adventure. They had been talking about mushrooms at the bar when the bar owner chimed in and asked if they wanted to go on an adventure to find mushrooms. They agreed, and then they drove and hiked to search for mushrooms. They found some, cooked them, ate them, and drank together afterward. During that trip, Sensei shared a story about his wife who had once eaten a laughing mushroom. They were scared it might be poisonous, but his wife ended up laughing uncontrollably for hours, almost the whole day, even when they took her to the hospital. The laughter only subsided late at night at home when the hospital couldn't do anything anymore because the toxins had already spread. That was the effect of the mushroom uncontrollable laughter. Their son was very scared at the time as well. So, Sensei has one son and a wife who ran away. After the mushroom trip, they went home. Most of the time, they just kept drinking together. Sometimes Tsukiko visited Sensei at his house. Sometimes they went there after drinking and continued drinking. Tsukiko would visit, but Sensei had never been to Tsukiko's house. One time, Sensei received an invitation to an event at the school where he used to teach and where Tsukiko studied. They went there together but went their separate ways once they arrived. Sensei was with another female teacher, and Tsukiko was approached by a former classmate. That classmate spoke to Tsukiko as if she were married. It turned out that they had gone on a date before. That guy had been married to Tsukiko's friend from high school, but it didn't work out. Now that he was divorced, he asked Tsukiko to go out with him. They spent that night together and then went home. By the time Tsukiko got home, it was already late, and she assumed that Sensei was with the female teacher. In the next few days, Tsukiko felt distant. She hadn't seen Sensei for a while. While drinking at the local bar, the bar owner asked her if she missed her dates with Sensei. She clarified that they weren't dates. The bar owner then mentioned that Sensei had been there. Sensei was there with a beautiful woman, and it was confirmed that he had brought the female teacher to the local bar. Eventually, he and Tsukiko met again and drank as usual, though they brought up what had happened during that school event. Tsukiko mentioned, "So, you brought the female teacher to the bar?" And Sensei responded, "Yes, and you were the one who went home with that young man." That conversation hinted at jealousy between them over the people they were with that night, though neither of them directly said they were jealous. They just continued drinking at the bar. After that incident, during one of their drinking sessions, Tsukiko got drunk and admitted that she loved Sensei. Sensei didn't reciprocate or confirm any feelings. He just sent Tsukiko home, and she carried on drinking. That night, she ended up at Sensei's house. She was still sure she loved him and told him again, but Sensei thought she might just be drunk. That was the end of it. They drank, and Tsukiko confessed her feelings, but nothing else happened. Their next adventure was to an island. It was Sensei who asked Tsukiko to go, and she agreed. They went there for 2 days. During the trip, they climbed a hill, and Sensei showed Tsukiko a gravet was his wife's. It turned out that Sensei's wife, who had once run away, had already died. After she left, she had multiple relationships and eventually settled with a man from Thailand. One night, while walking on a road without much light, she was hit by a vehicle and died. It was revealed that Sensei and his wife had remained friends even after she left him. She would still send him postcards. So even though she ran away, they stayed on good terms. Their son had since built his own life, far from them, and now had a child of his own, Sensei's grandchild. During the trip to his wife's grave, there were no visits from their son. So it was just Sensei and Tsukiko looking over the grave. Sensei mentioned not directly, but with words that made it clear that he still treasured his wife. Tsukiko got annoyed, left first, and went down the hill. She planned to enjoy the island by herself because she was very annoyed by what Sensei said. She went to a restaurant, but as it got dark, she realized that Sensei hadn't come down yet. Her annoyance turned into worry. She silently prayed that he would return safely and felt no longer upset, just concerned for him. When Sensei finally returned, they drank again that night. Afterward, Sensei mentioned that if Tsukiko was done drinking and felt sleepy, it was okay for her to stay in his room. When she asked what he meant by that, Sensei replied that he meant nothing, that she could just go there to rest. After drinking, Tsukiko went to Sensei's room. Nothing happened, she just went in, but she couldn't sleep. She tried to distract herself by putting on lipstick, even tried caressing herself in the bathroom. Still restless, she peered into Sensei's room and heard a strange sound. Concerned, she asked if everything was all right. Sensei opened the door and asked her to come in. He had been writing haiku, and they wrote haiku together. They grew sleepy and ended up falling asleep beside each other. That night, there was a tension between them, especially since Tsukiko had already confessed her feelings. Sensei touched her breast, but nothing more happened. That was their first sexual interaction. They fell asleep, and both of them shared a strange dream. In it, they were on a tree, and Tsukiko was watching. Sensei's wife was also there. It was a surreal, dreamlike moment. After that, they returned home from the island. Following the trip, they didn't see each other for a while. They normally didn't schedule their meetings, so now they just stopped running into each other at the bar. Tsukiko also tried to avoid Sensei. But one day, she went to the local bar again, after not seeing him for some time. The bar owner mentioned that Sensei hadn't been around either, and that the last time he was there, he had a cough. Tsukiko became worried and decided to visit Sensei's house to check on him. Sensei opened the door, and they reconciled. He was fine. After that, they returned to their usual pattern of running into each other at the bar. At this point, Sensei suddenly asked Tsukiko out on a date. She agreed. While they had gone out together many times before, this was the first time it was clearly a date. Sensei took Tsukiko to a museum. He insisted on paying because he was the one who asked her out. They enjoyed the museum together. That's also when Sensei finally confessed that he had fallen in love with Tsukiko. He asked her, "How long do you think Sensei will live? Will you be okay with that?" Tsukiko said she thought Sensei would live a long life and that she would be okay with it. They officially became a couple. Now, in a relationship, they began to meet more regularly. Sensei and Tsukiko both got mobile phones so they could stay in touch. Though Sensei barely used his, Tsukiko would sometimes call to ask if he was at the bar or if he would be going. They also went on more dates together. That was their life as an official couple. In the last part of the story, just a few pages or minutes from the end, Tsukiko reflects on her time with Sensei. They had been together for about 2 years, then 3 years. The timeline wasn't very clear. Sensei eventually passed away, but the story doesn't say how he died. In the final scene, Tsukiko is left with Sensei's empty suitcase. She can feel his absence. During the funeral, there is a moment where she silently repeats words to Sensei. That is how the story ends, with Sensei having passed away and Tsukiko quietly living with his absence. That's the end of the summary. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe for more book summaries. You can check out my other videos for more stories like this. And if you liked the book, the link to purchase it is in my bio.